what they're trying to do is pass a bill basically that keeps the rev share money private. Okay. And you guys heard me talk about this. And so I was asked, Bill was like, and Bill and I were on the same page with it. Part of me thinks I'm very curious to read. I mean, I know a lot of the numbers. I don't know every one of them, but I know a lot of them. But you got to look at it from a strategic standpoint. So basically succeeding in this era has had a lot to do with your state government around the country, right? Tennessee, the state of Tennessee has helped Tennessee volunteer football and by association Vanderbilt quite a lot with the way they've pushed the envelope legally. Same with Texas, same with Florida. I mean, even in like Illinois, they had a too restrictive of a law and they changed it. So your state law and lawmakers have a lot of importance when it comes to this. Okay. If South Carolina does this, it is going to damage Clemson, South Carolina, Coastal, everybody else's ability to compete. And you may be like, why, JC? Why? It's just information. Well, number one, everybody's not spending the same thing. That's A. And why are they not spending the same thing? Because a lot of it's outside NIL. Heck, a lot of it because they haven't all signed the College Sports Commission thing yet. A lot of it's just, I mean, SMU literally said publicly, we just got a $50 million donation to fund paying student athletes. It's not supposed to come from booster money, okay?
No, yeah, you're not supposed to be able to crowdfund it.
Yes, it is. But, so if it's South Carolina alone, and, our state's made some decisions, been on their own before, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. I mean, I don't know. I think the mini bottle law, when they were the only state, was actually pretty okay.
I didn't mind.
In many ways, it was. No pun intended.
That's right.
But, some other decisions that we've made as a state throughout history hadn't worked out so well. So, I don't think that South Carolina needs to be the transparent, tote the transparency banner here. Considering it's not like this is a state where everything's totally always transparent. So why is that, JC? Well, because here it's partially because, and I've mentioned before, fans that overreact to it and want to bring up the money. That happened with Lenore Sellers last year quite a bit. It's unfortunate. It does nothing but hurts your program. But I've just come to the realization that there are people out on social media that, because of the algorithm, they don't really understand. I think sometimes that what they put out there, nobody reads it. Nobody cares. But who does read it sometimes is when you tweet it directly at a player as the player. And, I wouldn't want my star quarterback to have the mental distraction to believe that the entire fan base based on three idiots was mad because he was making money. That's going to cause me to get in the portal. But it didn't. He stayed. So, I mean, maybe smarter than I think. That's very secondary to like where we're at now strategically. So number one, you don't get a clear picture. In other words, if you've got a list of all the Carolina players, you may have, it's out there that so-and-so got $2 million, right? That rev share number may be 25,000. And you have a bunch of morons that run these. No, they're not morons. They're not, people call them influencers. I think they're just engagement farmers would be a pretty positive term, like at college football on Instagram. 8 times out of 12, they put something up there that's woefully inaccurate, that's stupid, that just like makes no sense. But they grab that Instagram account at college football, so people are going to follow it. and so the people like that on Instagram, on X, whatever, even the people of the Athletic and the media, they're going to take those numbers and they're going to say, oh, South Carolina's not paying this guy but this. But that's not true, because how they worked the deal was Yes, you're getting this, but you get this in outside NIL. Okay, so it's really worth this. There is no way the state of South Carolina, the Roman Empire, the European Union, the Pope, Saddam Hussein's ghost, whoever you want to get to try to get that information, nobody can make them disclose private NIL deals. But you're going to have people that parrot that and put out a narrative that South Carolina and Clemson underpay, when really it's pretty similar to what everybody else is doing. But you can't get the bigger number or the smaller number.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that a lot of the fans, that pull for the Gamecocks, some of our friends on Facebook that continuously fall for the AI bots. I mean, I think somebody else died. Like, my wife fell for it the other day. What's wrong with Steve Spurrier? There was this AI bot that put up the Steve Spurrier's families gathered around and sad. And nothing. Not a damn, They don't pay any attention. I mean, it's not they don't pay attention. They just don't know. They don't care they just pull for Carolina, So then they're going to see that and be like, well, why in the heck are you paying this offensive guard this much and our quarterback only makes this much? And that's going to be what they talk about at church and the water cooler and the bar and the golf course and everywhere else. So you create this narrative that you have to deal with, that when you don't really have the school can't sit there and go, well, no, that's not true, because this is how much outside NIL, because you can't disclose that. Okay. So you're going to get, and so let's enter the chat. The agents have entered the chat. These people, they don't care to investigate things either. All they're going to hear about when you got 10 schools is they're going to look on Instagram and at college football and see that South Carolina or Clemson's woefully underpaying, because everybody wants to put the rev share money numbers everywhere. They're not even going to think to call Carolina and ask them. They're just not going to pick up the call from the portal. It's going to cause high school guys not to visit.
Oh yeah, no, they don't pay enough out there. I'm not going down there
because we're not far enough along in this yet to where people get it, and a lot of people don't really care to get it. So part of it, when you talk about competitiveness, has to do with the way people at large consume information. All of us know, we all know. But when you have to spend so much time and energy and all that, and the people still aren't going to get it. And so that's why it would put the South Carolina schools at a disadvantage, is because of the information and the fact that right now, even though there's some ridiculous, stupid, wrong numbers out there already, right now, the nature of how the true deals are put together aren't like a salary, like you look at the salaries of an NFL roster. It's not going to come across that way. It's not going to be reported that way. And so there are some strategic things that play into it. I also think this, I think there's a question that I don't have an opinion on either way. Part of me believes that fundamentally, college athletics are at a state-supported institution is a public asset. That's why this private equity talk is a little bit absurd to me, and I don't know that legally it would stand. That's why I think you should make some cheap tickets here and there for the people in your state. That's why I think you should recruit your state. I mean, all that. I think that still is a factor. If you want to privatize all of it, break it off. But then you're going to owe the state of South Carolina, I mean, all of us money, right?
Yeah.
'Cause that's ours, right? Or my family's. And I guess when I move back there, it'll be mine.
Yeah.
I've paid enough taxes in South Carolina. But, so part of me does agree with that part of it, right? That it's still public and all that. But the question becomes like, okay, but what about student privacy? Now, I think you can get on the state, of South Carolina's salary database and see what teacher assistants are making and things like that, Phil. I think you could find that out. So I don't know, how is this different from that standpoint? I think, I think that's why they're trying to pass a law, because it's a carve out basically. And I don't mind it being carved out for strategic reasons. And, you do things all the time with information for strategic reasons in business, politics, sports, wherever. So I get it. So that's why I think they need to pass the law. Matthew says that they've been posting some updates from it today. The legislators don't seem to get it. Harrison said our state kind of invented doing things on your own from a state standpoint. Yeah. Will says, I'm all for rev share being public. If every schools is public, I'm with you. Yeah, that's fine with me. Having yours public while most others private seems like a huge disadvantage. Yeah, people have to understand that. Matthew says any state employee with a salary over 50,000 is public. And then I don't know that these aren't salaries. So
that's the other thing, is that there is nothing right now that compels them to have to disclose these numbers, because they are technically not employees of the state.
yeah,
One of the downsides to this law is that a broader interpretation of it, at least from a judicial perspective, could be that if you're having to hide it, then it is a tacit acknowledgement that student athletes are actually employees of the state, because you would then have to you would then be compelled through a FOIA request to have to produce those numbers.
Here's my thing about it. I mean, and I think this is probably the grand compromise, is that you don't. So can you FOIA itemize scholarship cost?
See, that's the other thing, because from my understanding is public budgets are accessible, right? But you don't necessarily have to know that they spent a specific dollar amount from a discretionary amount on a budget line to a specific end company, right?
Like, you spend money recruiting, and it all goes in a recruiting budget.
Yeah, it's in the recruiting budgetary line.
We can't sit there and look up, well, Beamer took the jet to North Dakota 3 times and stuff like that. We don't know that information. So what I would do is say, look, this is money that's budgeted as for the players, and the coaches actually divvy it up, and it's up to them to do it. And they're not employees, because they're not. That's the NCAA says that. And this is how much we spent in rev share on this sport, that sport, and the other sport. And then that information being public is not going to be. It's still going to be potentially damaging, because if you're short in football, some schools, Phil, and not Carolina, but you're going to get that if it was for like this past year. You're going to get that rev share number, and it's going to be 0 for football and men's basketball, because they front loaded 100% of it.
Right.
0.
Now, the other side of that is, could you creatively use your collective as a shield for that?
No, not with rev share.
Yeah,
rev
share has to come directly from
the university. Yeah. Now the collectives do, like Garnet Trust cut $20 million worth of deals last year for Carolina student athletes. But no, you can't. That's how they used to do the collective, like before they passed rev share. That was exactly how they did it. And that's how they front loaded everything, because the collectives were sitting on money that they had to spend, or whatever. So it's a mess. I don't think South Carolina needs to be heroes about it. And I understand there's some of my friends that probably work in journalism that believe this is the right thing to do. I don't. And I have.
Well, whoever wrote the state article, you could definitely tell just by the headline where they lean.
What did it say?
I just clicked off of it, but it used the word hide. Can they hide the numbers, right? It's like, no, it's not hiding the numbers, right? Yeah.
Well, I hope if they don't pass the law and they are hiding the numbers, that they get the numbers, that at least I would hope they're not stupid with how they report it.
Right.
Because I guarantee you there are some stupid people that are pushing for this that will stupidly report it.
That will put itemized everything out there and only put the worst,
and not with no context.
Yeah, right. With no context.
And that's not. I would hope that wouldn't be Jordan. That's not my guy, David Cloninger. He's a pro, but there are other people that aren't. Oh, and then think about the people like if Mark Ryan were still in the state, like what he would do.
Oh,
He'd go line item comparing Clemson and Carolina and act like, who wins this, who's spending more here, there, and the other. Zero context. Look, I'm telling you, the reality of it, I thought journalism was supposed to be about reporting facts and educating the public and presenting facts. Now journalism now, folks, sometimes seems like it's about the journalist, like how necessary they are to society when they're just pushing their own agenda.
Yeah.
Well, we can all push our own agendas. Hell, it's 2026, So I don't know. I think it's bad for the state if you do that. That's the dumbest possible thing. They need to pass the law. I saw where some state legislators were they get caught up in things like the amount. And it's the same thing when like the board of trustees, Dick Harpootlian. This is how, I don't hate the guy. I mean, at all, but this was how off base the conversation publicly he had when he ridiculed the board of trustees at Carolina about athletics was. He was griping about coaching buyouts. You realize the University of South Carolina has paid a grand total of one coaching buyout, one in football since 1998. I would be curious to look at the numbers for the other schools in the SEC during that time. I mean, Clemson hasn't either, because Clemson's had coaching stability with Dabo Swinney. They had to pay Tommy Bowden money to go away. But they were all up in arms about $12 million over 30 years for football coaching buyouts. Even if you throw in Frank's money, it's 15, 16, it's 18 million in buyouts over 30. A couple.
Who is somebody? This is coming from a specific FOIA request. There is a FOIA request out there right now for this information from what they call a citizen. So I wonder who
it's one of those people. Yeah. This guy does a lot of FOIAs, which is his right as an American citizen. I don't have a problem with it. You just need to pass a law and shut him down. That's it. Bottom line.
Yeah.
This is not, and I would be curious to see this is not, and look, if you feel like you're right to have this information, when no other state in America does this, right? You're right as South Carolinian, supersedes the good or the benefit of what the rest of us care about, which is Clemson and Carolina competing in football. If you feel like that's the case, I respect it, but this is a representative democracy, constitutional republic that we live in, and the majority rules in most cases. So, and the majority, I would hope, just want what's best, and they can figure it out. Like I said, you want a big compromise, just put the budget out for the different programs. What are you spending per sport? What are you cutting up per sport? That's fine.
And that's revenue stream that's not, specifically appropriated from taxpayer dollars, the right of anybody's to know, regardless of who the steward of that money is. Right. I mean, we all know that the school is getting distributions from the conference for, from the networks for being on television.
Yeah. And ticket sales. Yeah. There's no taxpayer money that goes into athletics.
No. Right. So it was like, I don't understand. Yeah. Why?
And that may be a dumb, if whoever's out there saying it's taxpayer money.
Well, this is Senate Majority Leader Massey is concerned. He was like, the concern is whether there is state appropriated funds and tuition funds that are being transferred into an athletic department revenue account. Then there's money from that revenue account being used to pay players. Well, you know what?
There is.
I don't either, because rev share is specifically tied to
You can't use student
broadcast
money,
rights and
according
money
to the
rights.
rules. You
Yeah.
have it's all right. So what it is, it's tickets, anything the players. So you got to look at it like they're actors, right? So so actors. How do you and so tickets that involves your actors. You can give them money out of the tickets. Merch sales. If they sell their jersey or even a jersey, okay, well, we're selling a lot of merch. Tom Hanks could get, you sell a Woody doll from Toy Story. Tom Hanks could get a piece of it theoretically in a contract. TV money, their own television. You're using their name, image, and likeness to do that. Anything their name, image, and likeness is on that you get money from, you can give that. That's part of it. What you can't do is booster money, allegedly.
Right.
I don't know about outside NIL, but the rev share booster money, donations can't go for it. Any kind of general student activity fees and things like that, general funds, they don't. This is a cut of a specific bucket of revenue. So I don't know why. I don't know who assists him and lets him know about things when it comes to sports. Because this isn't the first time he's just had a ridiculously dumb opinion on the University of South Carolina.
Yeah, well,
I don't know who advises him, but whoever does, hit me up. I'll be glad to educate you on this situation. Because you're probably going to, I know you're probably going to get reelected regardless, but you're going to piss off a lot of people if this goes through. All right. So enough of that. On the game.